I remember the day I met Alex like it was yesterday. I was sitting in this cozy dive cafe, alone, and sipping on the cheapest coffee they had. My thoughts were all over the place. My life felt like a jigsaw puzzle with too many pieces missing. The hum of the place was comforting, but I was in my own world. That's when he walked in, and it was like something straight out of a movie. No dramatic music, no perfect lighting, just the soft chime of the doorbell and the familiar smell of stale coffee mixed with his aftershave. "Is this seat taken?" he asked, pointing to the chair across from me, his smile disarming, almost knocking me off my feet. "Looks free to me," I replied, trying to sound casual, but I could feel my heart race. We hit it off instantly. It was like we were cut from the same cloth, talking about everything from our favorite trashy TV shows to fiercely arguing about the best pizza topping. Pineapple, obviously. We were that perfect mix of easygoing but competitive. Fast forward a bit, and we were dating. Not just the casual kind of dating, but the real deal. It felt like we had known each other for a lifetime. And before we knew it, we were talking about getting hitched. The relationship grew quickly. We spent days dreaming about the future, planning trips we couldn't afford, and making promises we intended to keep. Talking about getting married didn't feel like a huge leap. It felt like the next natural step in a relationship that was already so solid. We were a team through and through. But then came the drama, his parents. The first time I met them, I felt like I'd walked into a lion's den wearing a meat dress. There was an unsettling warmth in the way they smiled at me, as if deciding whether I was worth their time or not. "So, you're the girl Alex can't stop yapping about," his mom said with a voice that was syrupy sweet but carried a sharp edge. I couldn't help but grin. Guilty as charged. They laid down the law quickly. Prenup. They insisted on it, and though I wasn't looking for Alex's money, it rubbed me the wrong way. "I'll sign your prenup," I told them, but added a condition. "If one of us cheats, the cheater pays up 100 grand. Alex stared at me like I'd slapped him with a fish. "Babe, I'd never cheat on you." "Yeah, well," I said. My ex said the same thing before I caught him with his pants down. Literally. So it's this or nothing. After all that drama, we settled back into our routine. Our rickety old couch became our spot, the place where we laughed, dreamed, and made plans. I'll never forget the night we talked about Italy. "Think about it," I said, eyes sparkling with excitement. "The food, the wine, the art, Italy has it all. We have to go." Alex laughed and wrapped his arm tighter around me. "You had me at food. But let's face it, our bank account is more camping in the backyard than romantic getaway to Venice." I nudged him playfully. "So we'll save. We can cut back on things we don't need, like your video games." His face contorted in horror. "Not the video games. Take my shirts, my shoes, even my beloved coffee maker, but leave the games alone." We laughed, but it was the perfect snapshot of us, dreaming big but staying grounded. That's how it was with us. Happy in the simple moments. One evening, while we were doing dishes together because, yes, even that felt special with him, the topic we'd been avoiding came up. "Emily, we need to talk about, starting a family," Alex said, breaking the silence. I froze, holding a plate in my hand. "I know, it's scary, isn't it? What if we can't?" Alex dried his hands on a towel and turned to me. "Then we deal with it together. We won't know until we try, right? I mean, how hard can it be?" I laughed, though it was a mix of nerves and affection. Famous last words, babe. But that's how we were. No matter what came our way, we faced it together. Then came his mom. The grandbaby talk became more frequent, and I could see the subtle pressure mounting. "Emily, darling, when are you going to give me some grandbabies? You're not getting any younger, she said with that same syrupy tone. I bit my tongue and smiled. "We're working on it, aren't we, Alex?"
"Yeah, Mom."
"Lay off. These things take time." Alex would jump in, but the tension was building. I couldn't help but wonder, would our dreams survive the weight of his family's expectations? As the months passed, the pressure to start a family grew, not just from his mom, but from within. We both wanted kids, but it wasn't happening as easily as we had hoped. Ever since Judy discovered her new hobby, making my life a living hell, Our home had turned into a battlefield, and her sharp tongue was the main weapon. It wasn't just the occasional snide remark anymore. It was an all-out war. Daily assaults on my self-esteem, on my role as a wife, everything. It all spiraled out of control one Sunday during lunch, supposed to be a laid-back, peaceful day. Instead, Judy showed up uninvited, as if she had an impeccable sense of timing. The air was heavy with tension the moment she stepped in, her eyes scanning the room like she was about to conduct a military inspection. "Well, isn't this quaint?" she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm as she looked at the modest spread I'd prepared. "You really outdid yourself, Emily. I can see you've been slaving away in the kitchen all morning." I forced a smile, trying to keep the peace. "It's nothing fancy, Judy. Just something simple and quick. Please have a seat." But Judy didn't sit down without making her presence known. As we sat, the barrage began. "You know, Emily," Judy began, her voice loaded with condescension, "I was talking to Mrs. Henderson the other day, and she mentioned how our grandson was just born. It got me thinking, when are you and Alex going to give me some good news? It's not like you're getting any younger." I felt my cheeks burn, a mix of embarrassment and anger. I glanced at Alex, hoping for some support, but he was suddenly very interested in his plate. "Mom, come on," Alex muttered weakly, but it was half-hearted. We both knew it was more out of obligation than anything else. Judy wasn't done. "And Alex, dear," she continued, "I don't mean to be cruel, but you're not a charity. You work hard for your money. Why waste it on Emily if she can't even do her basic duties as a wife? A cleaning service and a cook would be much more efficient, don't you think?" That was it. I couldn't hold back anymore. "Judy," I snapped, my voice trembling with frustration, "I am trying my best here. It's not like I don't want to have kids. And as for the house and my cooking, well, I didn't realize marriage was a service contract." Judy scoffed, her smirk widening. "Well, it's not a free ride either. You have responsibilities, Emily, which you're clearly not fulfilling." The room was heavy with tension, and I could feel the tears pricking at the back of my eyes. But what hurt the most wasn't Judy's words. It was Alex's silence. Finally, Alex spoke up, but it wasn't to defend me. "Yeah, Mom has a point," he muttered. "Maybe we should consider getting some help around here. Would make things easier for you, too." "Easier for me?" The words felt like a betrayal. It was clear Alex was siding with his mother, and I was on my own in this. The days that followed were worse. Judy's visits became more frequent, and with each one, her criticisms grew sharper. She'd inspect the house, pointing out every speck of dust, every pillow out of place. "You call this clean?" she scoffed. "My eyes must be deceiving me, because this looks like a pigsty." Then she turned her attention to my appearance. "Is that what you're wearing? You know, a wife should dress to please her husband. No wonder Alex is always so tired. He has to come home to this." I tried to fight back. "Judy, I don't dress for Alex. I dress for myself, and he's always so tired because he works hard, not because of what I wear." But it was like talking to a brick wall. Judy had made up her mind about me, and nothing I said would change it. What hurt the most, though, was Alex's lack of defense. Each night, after Judy left, we'd argue. "Why won't you stand up for me, Alex? She's walking all over us, and you're just letting her." "Emily, she's old, set in her ways. What do you want me to do, kick my own mom out?" "No, but I want you to be my husband, to stand by me, not her." It became clear it wasn't just about Judy's disapproval anymore. It was about us, our marriage, and whether we were strong enough to stand together or whether Judy's constant criticisms would tear us apart. As the weeks passed, things between Alex and me grew icy. Judy's campaign of critique was wearing us both down. But it wasn't just the tension at home that got to me. Alex himself had started acting strange. And not in the he's just stressed at work kind of way. Something was off. It started with the phone calls. Alex had always been open about his phone, no secrets between us. But suddenly, he started stepping out of the room every time he got a call. It was always the same caller ID. "John, work." "Who's John?" I asked one evening, trying to keep my voice casual. Alex flinched, a telltale sign he was on edge. Oh, just a new guy at the office. Lots of questions, you know. But it didn't stop there. Alex, who had never cared much about his appearance, suddenly started dressing differently. Gone were the graphic tees and worn-out jeans. Now it was crisp shirts and slacks. And cologne. He was using cologne now. My stomach twisted in knots. Something was going on. And I wasn't sure if it was the pressure from his mom or something else entirely, but I knew I had to get to the bottom of it before it tore us apart. Since when did Alex care about smelling like a department store? What was with the new look? I joked one morning as I watched him comb his hair in a way I'd never seen before. His response came too quickly, almost too defensive. Just felt like changing things up. No harm in that, right? But there was harm. Something was off. And it wasn't just the new clothes or the cologne he started wearing. It was the late nights at work. They were becoming regular, and always with the same excuse. Another long one, babe. He texted me one night, trying not to sound too needy. Sorry, Em. This project is killing me. Won't be late, I promise. But the clock ticked well past midnight, and I didn't hear his keys in the door until hours later. I tried to shake the feeling that something was off, but it clung to me like a shadow. That's when I decided to hire a private detective. It felt like something out of a bad TV show, but I had to know. I needed the truth. The envelope arrived a few days later. It was plain brown, the kind that made your stomach drop just looking at it. Inside was evidence so damning, so heartbreaking, I almost couldn't bring myself to look. Photos of Alex with another woman. Their intimacy was undeniable, captured in stolen moments that shattered everything I thought I knew about our life together. But it was the recording that hurt the most. Their conversation filled with endearments, plans to meet up, and whispered promises. There was no denying it. Alex was in love with her, or at least he was with her. I sat there, the evidence spread out in front of me, a cold realization settling in. This was it. The proof I'd been dreading but needed. I could use this to anchor myself in a stormy divorce. Photos of stolen moments, words that betrayed every "I love you" he had ever whispered in my ear. But I kept it all a secret. A painful burden I chose to carry alone. I wasn't ready to confront him. Not yet. I needed a plan. I needed to navigate the wreckage of our marriage with my dignity intact. The days following the discovery felt like a blur. Alex continued his charade, and I played along, the perfect wife. I plastered a smile on my face, and quietly, heartbreakingly, we both pretended that everything was fine. Every conversation became a careful dance around the truth, each word measured, every laugh forced. Everything okay, Em? You've been quiet, Alex asked one evening, his concerns seemingly genuine. Yeah, just tired. You know, work's been crazy, I replied, the lie tasting bitter on my tongue. It was just another mundane day, or so I thought, until I stumbled upon a conversation that would change everything. Passing by the slightly ajar door to Alex's office, I overheard voices. It was Alex and his mother, Judy, and they weren't just chit-chatting. Their voices were serious, heavy with intent. I'm telling you, Mom, I can't do this anymore. It's not just about the kids. I've lost all feeling for Emily. It's like we're roommates, not husband and wife. Alex's voice was strained, tired. Judy's voice came back, sharp and cutting. Well, of course you feel that way. She's not given you a child. And let's be honest, what else has she brought to this marriage? It was like a knife twisting in my gut when Judy added, but let's not be hasty. My 70th birthday is coming up, and we wouldn't want to miss out on a generous gift from her. Now would we? The cynicism in her voice was enough to make me feel sick. They weren't just plotting against me. They were planning my exit. And they were doing it with all the carelessness of someone planning a grocery list. But as much as the hurt stung, it sparked something else inside me, a burning desire for revenge. They thought they could use me, discard me, when it was convenient. They were about to learn they'd underestimated me. I wasn't some pawn in their twisted game. Sweetness, of course, Judy, it'll be our pleasure, I replied, my words tasting like ash in my mouth. The weeks leading up to Judy's 70th birthday felt like a slow march toward D-Day. Every smirk from her, every indifferent shrug from Alex, fueled my resolve. They had no idea what was coming. The plan was simple, yet bold, just like the movies. Host a lavish dinner at the city's most luxurious restaurant, under the guise of a loving gesture. Then drop the bombshell. It wasn't going to be subtle, but it would be the last act of betrayal I would endure. The night before the party, the tension at home was palpable. Alex, oblivious to the storm brewing, was lounging casually on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "Everything set for tomorrow?" he asked, not even looking up. "You could say that," I replied, my tone a mask that belied the turmoil inside. The day arrived. As the guests started to fill the opulent dining room reserved for Judy's celebration, the air was thick with anticipation. My heart raced, not from nerves, but from the adrenaline of what was about to unfold. Judy, ever the queen bee, basked in the attention, relishing the luxury of her surroundings. "Oh, Emily, you've outdone yourself. This place is exquisite," she exclaimed, her voice loud enough for nearby tables to hear. The meal proceeded with the kind of forced mirth that comes with such family gatherings, laughs shared, stories exchanged, and smiles plastered on faces. But it was all a performance. A farce. Then, as the dessert plates were cleared away, the waiter approached with the final act of the evening, the bill. He leaned in discreetly, informing us that the dinner cost a staggering $33,000. Without missing a beat, I handed over my card, my gesture unnoticed by most. It was then that Alex, with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes, decided to make his announcement. "Emily, I think it's time everyone knew. I'm tired of this. Of us. I want a divorce." The words hung in the air like a toxic cloud, suffocating all other noise in the room. Before I could process the full weight of his statement, Judy piped up, her voice sharp and unforgiving. "Well then, since that's out in the open, I think it's best you leave, Emily. We're celebrating family tonight, and well, you're no longer part of it." The room went deadly silent. Every eye was on me, waiting to see how I would crumble. But I didn't. With a calm I didn't feel, I stood, nodded, and walked out without a word. The cool night air hit me like a slap as I made my way home, the finality of everything washing over me in waves. By the time I reached our apartment, no, his apartment, a plan had already formed. I packed my essentials, the numbness giving way to a cold resolve. This was it. The end of one life and the start of another. As I zipped the last suitcase, my phone started buzzing relentlessly, an insistent vibration that I initially ignored. But curiosity got the better of me. Judy's voice screeched from the other end, filled with frantic energy. "Emily, the payment didn't go through. You need to fix this now." The sweet, sweet irony of it all. In my preparations for the inevitable, I had secured my exit strategy. I had blocked the shared account, knowing full well it would be the first thing Alex would try to use against me. "Oh, Judy, that's unfortunate. But since I'm no longer part of the family, as you so eloquently put it, I'm afraid you'll have to sort this out." Her outrage was palpable, even through the phone. But it was music to my ears. The chaos that unfolded was a fitting end to the farce my marriage had become. Word spread quickly. Judy's escalating tantrums at the restaurant, her refusal to settle the bill, and eventually, the arrival of the police to calm her down. It was a spectacle, one that my so-called family was forced to handle. In the end, it was Alex and his relatives who had to pull together the money to settle the bill, a poetic justice for the betrayal and humiliation they had subjected me to. The morning after the dinner disaster felt like waking up to the aftermath of a storm. I had my plan, my resolve, and a set of divorce papers in my hand. As I made my way back to what used to be our shared home for the last time, the tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Alex and Judy were there, their arguing a sign of the storm still raging between them. "You've got some nerve showing up here after last night," Alex spat out, his face a mix of anger and disbelief. Judy, ever the viper, was quick to add her poison. "Ungrateful wretch. You embarrassed us in front of the whole city. Do you know how humiliating it was to have the police calm me down?" People were laughing, filming. I met their fury with a calm I didn't feel. Embarrassed? You think that's your biggest problem right now. I tossed the divorce papers on the table, the photos of Alex's infidelity on top. You should be more concerned with this. The color drained from Alex's face as he picked up the photos, Judy peering over his shoulder. Their outrage turned to shock, then to panic, as they realized the extent of what I had. And let's not forget the proof, shall we? I continued, my voice steady. You cheat. You pay. $100,000 to be exact. Judy's face twisted into a snarl. You wouldn't dare. You can't do this to us. Oh, but I can. And I will, I said, my tone cold, final. Alex, realizing the gravity of the situation, switched tactics. Please, let's talk about this. We can fix it. I couldn't help but laugh, bitter and hard. Fix it? You think you can just undo everything with a few words? No, Alex. It's done. Judy, ever the manipulator, softened her approach, her voice dripping with false concern. Emily, darling, think about what you're doing. This will ruin us. That ship has sailed, Judy, I replied. You should have thought about that before. The begging turned to pleading, their words a desperate scramble to salvage whatever they could, but my mind was made up. I was done being the victim, done with their lies and manipulations. In the end, Alex had no choice but to borrow the money from his parents to pay me. As I left that house for the last time, check in hand, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. After everything went down, I used the payout from Alex to put a down payment on a small but cozy place of my own. It's funny, how much peace you can find in the walls of a place that's just yours, where every nook feels like a sanctuary from the chaos of the past. Life's quieter now, and I like it that way. I've got a job that keeps me busy, neighbors who nod and smile, and a little garden that's all mine to tend to. It's simple, but it's mine. But every once in a while, the grapevine tosses a juicy bit my way about Alex and Judy. The other day, I was grabbing coffee from the corner spot where locals hang, and I bumped into someone from the old neighborhood. After the usual pleasantries, they leaned in, their voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Hey, have you heard about the latest drama with your ex and his mom? They asked, eyes gleaming with a thrill of gossip. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow, a mix of curiosity and attachment taking hold. Can't say that I have. Do tell. They started, clearly savoring the moment. Seems Judy's not too pleased with Alex's new girlfriend. Word is they've been at it like cats and dogs. Makes your situation look like a walk in the park. The conversation moved on, but as I walked away, coffee in hand, I couldn't shake the feeling of utter relief. There was a time when news like that would have sent me spiraling. But now? Now, it was just another piece of someone else's story. These days, my biggest concern is whether my tomatoes will ripen before the squirrels get to them, or if I'll ever get the hang of yoga without looking like a newborn deer on ice. Life's simpler, quieter, and infinitely sweeter on this side of chaos. Please feel free to comment below if you like this. Remember to like and subscribe for more.